don't even know. So my project is about death and sort of Egyptians being like obsessed with death for thousands of years. Like the pyramids is like, the biggest symbol of death ever. People just come to visit them. And it starts like growing, and that culture has just kept evolving. A lot of it is not to do with like religion and there's a lot of cultural aspect, but I think at the core of it, it's this Egyptian obsession with death and like how we deal with death and how there's just all these unspoken rules about that very specific social value exchange around death. It's like, would you... So the project deals with those social, unspoken, very spontaneous sort of rule book that's very much in place, and sort of how it shows up in an urban setting. Very, again, like pop-up, like pockets of urban space open up to death to support these very, very nuanced networks of communal grieving becoming. So it's trying to prove that third spaces for bereavement exist in Cairo, and they are functioning very, very high functioning, very successful, very undocumented. And it's very different from the Western world, where like here you would have like dinner together in Britain, but you would grieve alone. Whereas in Cairo, 3 days you're just stuck with these people. Like 3 days of no one can leave you, people are on shift, like we do this together. And it's very much showing up in urban settings and in urban space. Like the infrastructure supports that grief. For now. I don't know how long that will stay. But I think that's what I'm trying to explore and sort of prove, But I think it's more than just there's an individual and there's a collective. I think it's all flipped on its head. We are alive for this collective that is made up of these individuals. And I think death is really extreme, and it hits you in the face, and it's a very sort of complicated thing to throw at someone, even through this thesis, even through being like, oh, what am I exploring? It's death. And there's a part of it that's, I wouldn't say expected, but it's like the most extreme thing in social sort of studies. But then the kind of sensitivity and the nuance that the city opens up to these networks and these communities, and how urgent and how non-negotiable these obligations are, start becoming like building blocks to create infrastructures that wholly and fully and genuinely support grief, and no one even notices it, which is so cool. Like, no one's planning for it. There's no city council meeting. I think the whole thing started, like, sorry, I'm ranting. It's like I've been studying here for 2 years and sort of just looking at Cairo as this third world and just being like, this isn't working, we don't have this, we don't have that, blah, blah, blah. And so Diana's like, you have other stuff though, but you're not realizing it. And it's very informal, it's very spontaneous, it's very pop-up, it's like, it's almost magical. It's like, it happens for like an hour and then just disappears into thin air. It works so well, and it's non-negotiable, and it's agreed upon it. There is no argument there. It features just so much alignment and so much strength and so much community. And it's not that I want to showcase that, I want to prove that it works and that there's systems at play, that maybe they're not academia, they're not driven by council, and they're not top down, but they're still there and they work really, really well. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I think also, it's called grief infrastructures. And as much as it's about the infrastructure of grief, I think it's sort of poking now at Cairo today, dystopian future Cairo. Or is the infrastructure dying itself? You know, it's been supporting our death for so long. And I think there's a question of like, at a certain point of westernization and sprawl and urban growth, the infrastructure that's been supporting this death, I mean, it might die as well. It might just sort of not be working anymore. And I don't know what that would look like. And I sort of want to just be like, you know, there are these really intricate networks of support going on right now. At what point, like our parents are in charge of them now, but we haven't been raised that way. Like at what point are we going to lose them, and at what degree of sprawl? Like we're making a new city center now, an hour and a half away from Cairo. So if someone in that city center, like the new capital, loses a family member in Cairo, are you going to drive 2 hours to get there immediately like you would if you were in Greater Cairo? We just keep sprawling. I think at one point there's an inflection point where we're just not going to be doing that, which is scary. So it's like the death of Cairo as well, you know, or that sensitivity that holds Cairo up and really makes it that place that people will go be like, there's just something about that place. And it's just something, and it's so untouched. It's amazing. I love it.